Good morning, grade 2 children. How are you all? How are you feeling today? Good? Okay, welcome to the new week, and that is week 8. And which day is this? This is the first day of the week. Correct. It is the first day of week 8, right? Now, today we are going to do a very, very interesting thing, and that is a comprehension. And what that comprehension is, it's about a story. You must have heard that story. It's very, very interesting. Now, I'm going to show you a picture. Now, what you are going to do, you look at the picture and tell me what do you think the picture is about. Okay? All right, let's go. Now, what is this picture about, children? Have you ever seen this picture, this girl? Yes? What do you think? What comes in your mind when you look at this picture? Yes? What comes? Great. It's a picture of Little Red Riding Hood. Yes, you see, she's wearing a red dress and she's holding a basket of fruits, right? And she's a Red Riding Hood, correct. Now, have you ever heard that story of Red Riding Hood? It's a very, very famous story. Children loves that story. Yes, you have. Wow, that's great. Now, when you looked at the picture, that did that story came to your mind and you recall that story, you were able to recall it? Yes, correct. Then because when you saw the picture, immediately after that, the story came in your mind, right? And you were able to recall that story. Yes. So we are going to read that story, right? And that story is already there in your book, unit number 5. This is the story. You can see the picture here. You can see the picture of Red Riding Hood. You can see the picture of mom. You can see this picture how Red Riding Hood is standing and how she is feeling, right? When you look at the face, what comes into your mind? How is she feeling? She's feeling scared right now. Why she was scared? This we are going to find out in the story. Now I'm going to show a presentation of this story and we are going to read the story side by side. Now you can see this is a story of Little Red Riding Hood, right? Okay. Little Red Riding Hood lived in a wood with her grandmother. One day, Red Riding Hood went to visit her granny. She had a nice cake in her basket. On her way, Little Red Riding Hood met a wolf. "Hello," said the wolf. "Where are you going?" "I'm going to see my grandmother. She lives in a house behind those trees." Now what happens? The wolf ran to Granny's house and ate Granny up. He got into Granny's bed. A little later, Little Red Riding Hood reached the house. She looked at the wolf. "Granny, what big eyes you have! All the better to eat to see you with," said the wolf. "Granny, what big ears you have! All the better to hear you with," said the wolf. Okay. Then the granny, "What a big nose you have! All the better to smell you with," said the wolf. "Granny, what big teeth you have! All the better to eat you with," shouted the wolf. Now what happens? A woodcutter was in the wood. He heard a loud scream and ran into the house. The woodcutter hit the wolf over the head. Now what do you think is going to happen? What happened actually after this? Yes, the wolf was dead. And then what happened? The wolf opened his mouth wide and shouted, and Granny jumped out. This is what happened. He opened his mouth and Granny jumped out. The wolf ran away, and Little Red Riding Hood never saw the wolf again. So this was the end of the story, right? So actually, what was the story about? The story was about a little Red Riding Hood and who went to visit her granny. Now when she was going, she was taking the cake or the basket of fruits for her granny. She was very happy, right? Why do you think she was happy? Because she wanted to visit her grandmother. Correct. Now, when you see this picture here, she is where her mom is waving her because she's going to visit her grandma and she is very, very happy. But here, while she was going, and when you look at this picture here, what comes into your mind? How is she feeling right now? She's feeling scared. Why she was scared? Because she was all alone in the woods and there were huge trees. There were lots of trees over there and she was walking. And while she was walking, it was dark. It was not daytime. It started becoming dark and she became scared. And then suddenly she saw a dark thing, right? So she ran, and that what was that? What was the dark thing? Actually, that was the wolf, right? It came and visited the Red Riding Hood, and the wolf asked her where she was going. She said she was going to visit her grandma. The wolf ran, and she went into the grandma. She killed the grandma, and she became the grandma because the wolf wanted to eat the Red Riding Hood. But what happened? Was he able to eat it? No, he was not, because the woodcutter came and the woodcutter helped the Red Riding Hood. Yes, correct. That means were these pictures like the pictures I shown you over there, the picture of Red Riding Hood and the other pictures which you saw in the book, were they helped you in recalling the story? Yes, they helped you in understanding the story. They helped you in comprehending the story. Right? Correct. Now is the time for you to answer few questions. And for that, what you are going to do is you are going to do the first two questions right now. Okay? You are going to write down the questions, you are going to write down the answers in the notebook. So it's going to take some time. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes and your time starts now. Okay. Time is up. Come on. Okay. The first question, what you have written. What did Little Red Riding Hood's mother ask her to do? What she asked her? She asked her to take the fruits to her grandmother. Very good, Saad. Okay, the second one. Why did Little Red Riding Hood's mother want her to do that? Because her granny was not well, so she wanted her to give her good food, healthy food. Correct. Very good. Okay. Now, the next questions are for your homework, but I'm just going to ask you, and you will just answer me orally as well as, okay, what happened to the path as Little Red Riding Hood walked further into the wood? There she saw lots of trees and it started becoming dark, and so she became afraid, right? Okay. Now, how do you think Little Red Riding Hood was feeling when, okay, this was when she set off. Like when she set off means when she went, when she started going to visit her grandma. While on her way, how was she feeling? She was feeling very happy because she wanted to visit her grandma, correct. And how do you think Red Riding Hood was feeling when she was alone in the wood? She was feeling scared. Why she was feeling scared? But because it was dark, it started becoming dark and there were trees and which was looking very scary to her, right? So she was very scared. Okay. And how do you think Little Red Riding Hood was feeling when she saw a dark shape standing in the middle of the path? She was very, very scared because the dark shade was very scary. And actually, what was that dark shade? It was a wolf who wanted to eat the Red Riding Hood. So she became very, very scared of that. Okay. Okay, do you think you would have felt the same way as Little Red Riding Hood while walking through the woods? Will you feel the same way if you were Red Riding Hood and you were walking over that path? How would you feel? You would feel scared because you were all alone. And once you are alone and it gets dark, obviously you are going to feel very, very scared, right? So, did you learn any lesson from this story? Was there any lesson in the story? Yes, there was a lesson. And what was that lesson? Yes, that lesson was that you should not go alone. You should come back home before dark, right? And you should be very careful about the people whom you are meeting, because when she saw the granny's eyes were very big, although her granny's eyes were not that big, she should understand something, right? That it might not be her granny. And when she saw the teeth of her granny was so big, she should understand like that, right? So you should be careful about strangers and you shouldn't be going out alone, right? So that means you learned a lesson in the story. So did you enjoy it and did you like the story? Yes? Great. So which part of the story was more interesting for you? When she went into the wood and it was scary and dark? Okay. And what about you, Sarah? Which part was more interesting for you? When she saw the wolf in place of the granny. Yes, because she saw big eyes, nose, and teeth, right? So you felt this part. And did you like the ending? Do you think the ending should be like that? Or there should be some different ending? The woodcutter should, if okay, if the woodcutter would have killed the wolf, will you be able to find the granny then? No. So it means it was a nice ending. It was a good ending, right? So I hope this was clear to you, and I'll be posting the homework again on portal, and that would be your questions and answers. The rest of the questions which are there in the book, you are going to do that. Okay? And hope to see you tomorrow and hope you'll be able to do the work yourself. Bye bye. See you in your science lesson. Bye.